Started. My name is Tom Kresh. I'm the Director of Graduate Admissions. So thank you for joining us. I know everyone probably has a lot going on right now. If you're currently an undergrad student, you're probably prepping for your final. And is there not a better time to learn about the next degree as you're probably getting close to wrapping up the first degree, right? You probably see just a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel before you realize that that light is another degree. But again, so thank you for joining us as we jump into the Masters of Science in Speech and Language Pathology. Before we get started, though, I just wanted to let everybody know the event should take probably between 30 and 45 minutes. We have a great presentation that Dr. Scarpino will be leading. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them into the chat and I will get them to Dr. Scarpino to be answered. This is being recorded, so for anyone who is watching the recording, we will put up our contact information at the end of the event. And please feel free to reach out to us if there's any additional questions. But Dr. Scarpino, would you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about yourself? What are your interests, your research interests, favorite classes to teach, favorite color?
Oh, animal prints, my favorite color. No. So hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Dr. Shelley Scarpino. I am currently the graduate coordinator for the Speech-Language Pathology master's program, and I also am the director of clinical education for both audiology and speech-language pathology. I am a native of the Berwick, Bloomsburg area, and I got my undergraduate degree at Bloomsburg in elementary education, and then went back after I had my children. Went back to school for the master's in speech language pathology at Bloomsburg. And then I worked locally, clinically, and also worked doing some early intervention work, and decided that I really liked the aspect of the idea of teaching. So I got hired part-time at Bloomsburg to work in the clinic as a supervisor in the clinic there, and also to do some adjunct teaching. Really liked it, so I picked up my family and we moved to State College, and I went to Penn State and got my doctorate. Since then, I've worked at Stockton University in New Jersey, and then I went to do some research at Temple University in Philadelphia, and then I ended up full circle back at Bloomsburg again. So I've been here since 2014, full-time. I teach both undergraduate and graduate courses. My specialty area is in the area of phonology, speech sound disorders, and language. And in particular, I study the development of speech sounds in children who are Spanish and English bilinguals. So I currently am finishing up a grant that I actually had with a colleague of mine who's at Teachers College, Columbia. And we had a grant to develop a test actually for bilingual children. It's given on an app on an iPad, and it tests their phonological awareness, like rhyming and identification of first, last sounds and words and things like that. Mm-hmm. So kind of a pre-literacy thing. So I'm kind of really into like language literacy, and those are pretty much the courses I teach. I do teach also some of the clinic courses, the seminars, and undergrad normal language development. Sometimes language disorders undergrad, and I was just saying I'm teaching this semester at 8 a.m. in the mornings, clinical observation course. So that's a little bit about me. And clinically, I've worked in rehab, I've worked in the hospitals, I've worked in preschools, I've worked early interventions. So that's what I love so much about the profession, is that you can be working at something and think you're going to do that the rest of your life. I thought I was going to work in a hospital the rest of my life, and I ended up studying speech sound development in children and working at a university and teaching. So you never say never, and that's what I love about what we do. We can kind of move around. We have a lot of options.
Excellent, great. Well, thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and get the presentation started here. As promised, there will be a lot of winter imagery here embedded in the presentation. For those of you who are not from the Bloomsburg area or currently Bloomsburg students, that is our Husky statue. We are the Bloomsburg Huskies. So. But first question, right? Why the Masters of Science in Speech Language Pathology?
So one of the things I just mentioned was the fact that it's a great profession in terms of just having options out there. You can work medically if you like more of the health sciences aspect of it, or if you like the schools and you think like, I'd like to be a teacher, but I don't know if I really want to be a teacher in a classroom. I like the more one-on-one. So pretty much a speech language pathologist in the schools is like a teacher, but you work more in like small groups than one-on-one. So there are lots of options out there. And the nice thing is that our profession right now is very much in need. So there's always opportunities for jobs. I think the next slide, if you'll go, talks about, yep, it's one of the top ranked jobs in the US. So Money Magazine puts it at 35. And US News, I like this one better, number 10 of the 100 best jobs. So they rank them according to like the salary, how stressful the job is, think also maybe something like, the job and the employment rate, which right now, our graduates, the nice thing about speech language pathology too, is that you're going to be getting recruited. So where most people are going to be out kind of pounding the pavement looking for jobs, employers are going to come looking for you. I still get like postcards in the mail saying, hey, we have job openings if you'd like to apply. So people, they're always looking. The nice thing is too, we're expected to grow. So 29% projected employment growth between now and 2031. So that's a much faster than average occupation that's growing. Our population's getting older. And as a result, unfortunately, we have more people who may be getting strokes, but fortunately, people, just because you have a stroke doesn't mean that you can't get rehabilitated after that. And so we're very much play a key role in the rehabilitation of people who are getting older, have dementia, maybe have a stroke that they're recovering from. Next slide.
And just one quick point too, as you look at the 29%. So what we normally see is between 5 to 10% in employment growth. Like that's normally a pretty healthy metric. 29% is enormous. That is a cliff. So that means that there is and will continue to be a huge shortage of speech and language pathologists. So this is a good time to be looking at getting this degree. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Scarpino, in order to be a practicing speech language pathologist, you have to have bare minimum the master's degree. That's the minimum expectation, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So you will be in high demand. Basically, having this degree will unlock a lot of great opportunities for you.
Absolutely. Just looking a little bit at the pay rates. So, those of you who are you're obviously here because you think you want to be a speech language pathologist. So you're pretty sure that you're going to be going to get your master's, and going into a program. The pay is pretty nice for in terms of what you're going to get right out of school. Okay, so work in an elementary school, the average wage is about $75,000 a year, and that's a school year. So you're working from basically September to beginning of June, and you have your summer off. And then you can see where it's a little bit more money for like the health professions, working in a hospital, et cetera. And again, that's an average pay. So that might not be what you're going to get right out of the gate, but soon enough. And that's, higher because again, those are usually more like 12-month salaries. And you can see the highest paying there would be for home health and nursing care facilities. And actually, those are the ones that are usually in the highest demand. Because, and again, as I said, our population is getting older, so that population of patient is growing, and so there's really more of a demand. So they have to offer a higher salary to be able to fill those positions and attract people to them because there's a shortage. Okay, why Bloomsburg? So you can go. There are a lot of programs out there. So what makes the Bloomsburg program so special? As I said, I myself am a graduate of Bloomsburg. I have, again, been at other programs, and I know that what we offer at Bloomsburg, other programs can't offer or don't offer. And one of the things that makes us special, and it's nice, I think we hear students say a lot, is that you're taught at Bloomsburg by faculty who have the PhD. So you're not taught by graduate assistants. or, you're not taught by, we don't have a lot of adjuncts. We have some, but, mostly it's full-time faculty that you get to work with. And, we have pretty much our faculty here, we're open door. So we're here, we're a teaching institution. Although, we like to do research. I said I do research myself, but it's not my primary job here. My primary job is teaching. And it's why we choose schools, like faculty choose a school like Bloomsburg, because we really want to be involved in the teaching aspect of it. So, and the other thing I will say about Bloomsburg too is we're a smaller campus, which is really nice. You get to kind of know people around campus, living, you can live fairly close to campus. And there's a lot of parking here. So you can, students park and don't have to walk too far to get to our buildings. The program here, so you might have heard that we have 3 campuses now. We have joined to become the Commonwealth University, but all of our courses are offered at the Bloomsburg campus. So all of the courses and the clinical experiences are in Bloomsburg. Our program is currently 56 credits over 5 semesters. So you start in fall, and then you would do fall, spring, summer, fall. And then the 5th semester would be off campus at an externship site. It's 100% in person, so we don't currently offer any of our courses online. And, we have our own in-house clinic, which is great. So we have adult patients and young patients. We have kids as young as like 2 years old. And then we have an after-school population who comes in, and we also have some elderly patients. And we also have some clients who we work with audiology. We're fortunate that we have an audiology program too. So we have currently at least 2 patients, I think, or 2 of our clients who have cochlear implants. So they come in and they work with both the audiology side of things and also with our speech language pathology students to learn like auditory rehab. So the other unique thing about Bloomsburg, in addition to having our in-house clinic, is that we have a school locally that we have a contract with where our students go out. So our own supervisors who are employed by Bloomsburg University are actually full-time at the schools, so elementary, middle, and high school. And our students go to those sites and they're supervised by our supervisors there in the schools. The other thing we also have is a preschool right on the 3rd floor where our clinic is located. We have a local agency that runs a preschool on our 3rd floor. So our students get to go in there and get hands-on experience working with little preschoolers who have language. It's a language intensive classroom. So it's a really neat thing for students to see. The teacher is actually a speech language pathologist herself.
Well, and I know the campus itself is immaculate. I mean, for those of you who are not current Bloomsburg students, it is beautiful. And that's probably not the biggest factor in your decision in where to go. But it was ranked the 3rd nicest campus in the state of Pennsylvania. There's a lot of colleges in PA, like an inordinate amount of colleges in PA. So that means our campus is pretty nice. Even more importantly, though, is you've got this whole self-contained ecosystem of the Department of Communication Sciences and Disorders that includes the undergrad, the graduate programs, and the clinic. So everything is very conveniently located in one building. So it's simple. Right. It's a nice, comfortable community to get your master's degree at. So that's one of the things that as an outsider, I feel like I might have appreciated if I were a prospective grad student, but sorry to cut you off there.
Yes, it's nice on days when it's really cold that you just walk from the 3rd floor down to the 2nd floor for class. It's not,
very
you're not going
convenient.
across campus, 10 minutes.
There is a Starbucks maybe 50 yards away from Centennial Hall, which is where the department and clinic is located. So that is, I'm sure that was done intentionally. So that's nice.
Yes. So our program has a great reputation in the state of Pennsylvania. So we have a lot of graduates out there. We've been accredited since the 1960s. So we have a number of alumni out there, and they, again, I am a graduate of Bloomsburg. One of the reasons I wanted to return to Bloomsburg was because I loved the program. I thought I got a great education there, and I wanted to continue that tradition and, give back and keep the program going. So we've got a lot of people out there who are alums who want to hire Bloomsburg graduates. They want to, have Bloomsburg graduates come and do their externships there. So they actually come looking. And in fact, I am receiving emails constantly from local school districts, intermediate units in the area, et cetera, saying, hey, we really need some speech language pathologists. Do you have any graduates? Is there a way that we can partner with your school to funnel some of your graduates right into our programs? So we really have a great reputation in the area. We also have high success rates. So our students, 100% program completion rate. So yes, everybody completes the program. We have to report this every year to ASHA, the American Speech Language Hearing Association. I'm sure you know about that. Every year they require that we tell them, and we have to actually post it on our website, how many of our students not only graduate, but graduate in the time that we say they're going to graduate. So that's really important, that all of our students graduate on time. It's not like we tell you you're going to come here for 5 semesters, you end up here for 8 because you can't get done. So 100% of our students start and finish within 5 semesters. We have had for the past 3 years a 100% employment rate, and we have a 93% 3-year average pass rate on the praxis. And that's just, again, that's the number of students passing the first time around. And it doesn't necessarily mean that students didn't retake it and pass it the second time. So we traditionally have 100-year. We're actually not thrilled with our 93% right here. We have always had it 100%. I'm thinking that COVID might have had something to do with it. The last year kind of hit us a little bit. But generally our students are very well prepared for the praxis test. And again, this just represents how many people passed it before we had to send our report into ASHA. So if we get that 100% pass rate again this year, as I expect we will, then we'll probably be able to report that our 3-year average is 100% again. And I'm looking forward to reporting that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say this is probably one of 3, 4, 5 programs that puts Bloomsburg on the map. This is one of like the tentpole programs that we are most well known for. And every college has their own, right? You think of certain schools, you might think of engineering, you might think of, the law school or something like that. When you think of Bloomsburg, one of the first things that comes to mind, speech pathology, audiology, communication sciences, and disorders. We kind of built our reputation off of, offering a program like this. So yeah, the reputation oftentimes precedes itself. At the undergraduate level, we do get students that come from all neighboring states. They come from areas where it's not convenient to come here, but they'll come here because the program's that good. So again, another kind of a good metric that this is a popular place to be.
So our offerings in terms of courses are pretty extensive. So, if you're comparing other programs, you might see that other programs offer some 2-credit courses. So again, when you think about a 3-credit course for us, that's 45 hours of instruction, approximately. I think it is 45, right? And that, when you're looking at something that's only 2 credits, then it's going to be only 2/3 of that. So you're not getting the extensive kind of study that you're going to get with a 3-credit course. So all of our courses at the graduate level are at least 3 credits, except for we have an instrumentation course that's currently offered at just 1 credit. And that's because it really isn't content heavy. It's really demonstration. So I can talk a little bit more about that when I get to the list of other courses. But for the most part, also, you'll find that some programs might, again, offer voice disorders and fluency disorders as only maybe 1 or 2 credit classes, or maybe as electives. So these are all required courses for us. We have a separate 3-credit course in voice disorders, fluency. Craniofacial disorders is one that deals with cleft palate. And again, you might find that kind of incorporated into another class, where here you're getting a whole separate course in that. So we can go a little bit more in depth with that. A separate class in motor speech disorders. And then we do offer a 3-credit course in augmentative alternative communication, where students get hands-on experience with AAC devices and things like that. We have 2 full courses, so 6 credits covering child language. And even that sometimes doesn't seem like it's enough time to cover everything there is to know about child language, but we divide that into preschool and then school age, because they're two totally different populations with totally different needs and goals. Two separate courses also in aphasia and cognitive-based disorders. So usually when you think of that, you think of maybe left CVA versus right CVA, or left CVA, right CVA plus kind of closed head injury. So sometimes you'll see all of those kind of together in one course where we separate those out. So again, students are getting really deep into the content of an aphasia course and into a cognitive-based disorders course. We just switched so that most of our courses are now offered during the day. So our students, we're always kind of going, oh, we hate, we have clinic and then we're sitting in class from 6:30 to 9:30. We don't do that anymore. So thank goodness, for the professors are happy too. So currently we have courses running from 1 to 4 or 2 to 5 in the afternoon. So we take a little break from clinic and then we do an evening clinic from 5 to 7 for kiddos who, maybe are in school and need to come in the evening. In this spring, we're going to switch from afternoon classes to morning. So we're going to do 8 to 11 o'clock in the morning, and then we'll start clinic at 11 and run clinic straight through to 7 o'clock. So that's the other nice thing, is that the courses are offered again during the day. And I said 5 semesters only. 4 semesters are on campus. And then your 5th semester is off campus completely. So during that externship, you don't have any other classes. You're done with everything. So we have students who say, I'm going to move home for that last semester and save some money on rent. They might decide they're going to go, oh gosh, move in with a boyfriend in North Carolina. They can do that. You don't have to be on campus for anything that 5th semester. So it's really 4 semesters on, and then the 5th semester is anywhere you want to go where you can find a place that will take you and help you get some of your final hours that you need. So that's pretty much it in terms of where you'll be doing your studies. Our coursework, as I said before, we have aphasia, language disorders in preschoolers, fluency disorders currently offered in one of our summer classes, phonology and articulation. So we offer the phonology course, the language disorders in preschoolers. We also offer the, which is on the net, our Clinic 1, Intro to Clinic, and AAC, our Augmentative and Alternative Communications course. We kind of offer them first semester, so that by the time, so our first semester is coursework only. Towards the end of the semester, you kind of dip into clinic a little bit. You kind of shadow a second year student and watch, observe their sessions. You might help take some data with them. And then you really don't get your own clients until the second semester. And that's because we really want to make sure that you've got a good handle on the coursework that you need. So that's why we have the preschool language and the AAC and the articulation, because that's the bulk of what you're probably going to see when you go out into the schools and or in the clinics. So students are happy that they have that course already before they actually have to go into clinic second semester and start seeing people with those disorders. The next page, I think, is our next slide, is the continuation of that. So 3 semesters of clinic. So you see clinical practicum there, 1, 2, and 3. Before you get to the outside externship. And as I said, the clinical instrumentation course is currently a 1-credit course. And that really just has students with a hands-on practice doing things like nasometry. So when you have somebody who has cleft palate and maybe hypernasal speech, that's a computer-based program that you can, hook the client up to that and measure how much nasalence they have in their voice and their resonance. We also have video stroboscopy. Oh gosh, there's a ton of instruments in that. We have a voice lab where you would go to for your class there. So just give students some hands-on practice. That's why it's only 1 credit, because it kind of piggybacks on like the voice disorders class and the craniofacial disorders class. We do offer our research course the first semester, and that's to kind of get students interested maybe in doing research. So if you wanted to do a thesis project, you could. Thesis is not required. So we don't have currently a culminating, we don't have a required exam to graduate, and we don't require thesis, but you certainly can do a thesis if you wanted to, but it is extra. So you'd have to take the regular coursework and then opt for a thesis in addition. We currently have 2 swallowing courses. So one on anatomy physiology of the swallow, and then the other one on assessment and management. And then the field experiences, again, 1 and 2, both take place in the final semester. So if you wanted to get a level 1 teaching certification, you do a student teaching experience and then do part of the, so you would do part student teaching, part medical. If you wanted to do the ed specialist option, you don't need to do student teaching. So we give experience in the schools in our first and second semester of clinic. And so you would be able to do that final semester in a full medical placement, full semester medical placement. So that's something that we're happy to talk to you about in terms of what are your options, looking at working in the school versus working medically, like what, especially working in the schools, like what are your options for the types of certificates. We have 2 certifications that we offer for working in the schools. As I said before, we do have our own in-house speech and hearing clinic, so that's really nice. We have all of our own clients coming in, and so you would be working with our clients semesters 2, 3, and 4, so spring, summer, and fall. And then we have that local school district site that has kids kindergarten to 12th grade. And then we have that in-house language intensive preschool that we offer also on the 3rd floor, right kind of attached to one of the separate rooms of our clinic.
And I know right now the in-house speech and hearing clinic, we are going to be working on a virtual tour of that. And some additional videos to kind of help showcase that for those of you who might not live in within close proximity. And Dr. Scarpino, can you talk about some of the instrumentation and some of the labs that might be available within the clinic that students would be using?
Sure. So again, we are a fully, we bill also, so we're like a fully functional medical clinic on the 3rd floor. So the entire 3rd floor is considered to be the clinic. Okay, that houses both speech and hearing. And we also bill insurances, so you get practice. Just what would it be like if you're working in a clinic where you had to like write up notes and bill the insurances, etc. And we currently have 65 patients or clients coming just for speech. We don't have clients, regular clients coming in for hearing. So I really can't tell you. They come, get their hearing aids and get their evaluations, but they're not coming back week after week. But in terms of the weekly people that we see for speech, we have 65. And we're full. We have a waiting list. So that's the nice thing too, is we have a great reputation for our clinic. Our students have, our speech pathology students we have a large workroom where we've got, I think 10 computers set up around the room, the perimeter of the room for students to go and work. And then we also have a kind of off to the side of that, we have another room that houses all of our material, like testing materials, etc. And then we have another room that houses nothing but just all of our therapy materials, toys that we have, etc. And that's overflowing. We have so many materials. So you're not wanting for any materials, wouldn't have to buy anything when you came because we've got tons of things. And then we also have, again, a lab where we have all of the AAC devices set up. So you could go in there and, we've got a number that you could pull from to try with clients. We have the voice lab, as I said. So there's instrumentation in there that we use for teaching purposes, but also if we had a client come and needed to have a voice eval and we wanted to use stroboscopy on them, or we wanted to do the nasometer, we could certainly do that. And then we have a hallway where we've got all of our therapy rooms. So adult rooms with bigger tables, and then child rooms with the smaller tables. And then we have a video, you'll see this probably at any program where we have a room set up where the clinic supervisors can sit and watch the sessions So they have video monitoring equipment on the wall, and they can flip to different rooms so that they can, kind of go in and out of different sessions and watch video and audio. So students can go in there and record. They can ask the supervisor, hey, I want to record the session, so they can digitally record the session and then go back and watch it later. And all of our, documentation, everything's digital now, and we do have a digital system that we use for medical records. So that's the other thing. When you go into a hospital or clinic and they do all of their medical records digitally, we're already doing that. We're already using that kind of software. So I think that's it for the third floor. We also have, again, we have audiology. So when our clients come in, they're younger kiddos, we always do a hearing evaluation, or at least a screening on them first. So our students get to go down to the audio booth with the audiologist, and we first do their hearing tests and then start the speech language eval.
Excellent.
So we started using SIDCast. So I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that's where a lot of the programs are using that now, where it's a kind of a centralized location for communication sciences and disorders programs. So we are available on there. So make sure you're looking for Commonwealth University. So if you're looking for Bloomsburg, you might say, hey, there's nothing for Bloomsburg under the B's. We're under the C's now. So you've got to look for that. And it will say Commonwealth University Bloomsburg. Okay. We require a typed letter that details your professional background, some experience, rationale, like why do you want to become a speech language pathologist and why are you choosing Bloomsburg? So I highly recommend that you try to be specific to Bloomsburg, like, why us? What do you find special about our program? And then again, that should be something telling us a little bit about you too. So we're going to get to see your transcript. We're going to get to read your resume. Everything on paper is great, but what we really are looking for here is like a little bit more about you personally. And then we like 3 letters of recommendation. We like these to be from people who know of your academic background. So while you might have had a job as a waiter or waitress for 3 years at a restaurant, that's great, but that boss probably can't do a lot to talk to us about what you would be like as a graduate student. So we prefer that you get your letters of recommendation from undergraduate professors, is probably best if they know you well. Or, other people even outside of the CSD department. It doesn't have to be in the department, but a professor is going to know what it takes to get a master's degree and whether or not they think that you are a good candidate for that. So we're looking for somebody who not only knows you, but knows what you can do academically. We do ask for a resume, and we do not require the GRE test. Our application deadline is February 1st, and we only have fall enrollment. So the only time we admit students is for the start of the fall semester.
So Dr. Scarpino, just to clarify something, so the application deadline, that means not only does the application need to be submitted by February 1st, but so do all the accompanying materials as well.
Yeah, and we do have it set up in SIDCast that it has to be verified by then. So it's a good idea to make sure that you get that in, get everything in, get all of your letters of recommendation in at least 2 weeks before that, so that they have an opportunity at SIDCast to verify everything, make sure when you're saying that you've got these courses covered, they're going to look at your transcript and verify that that's the case, or they're going to make sure you have the 3 letters of recommendation, etc., so that by February 1st you've got everything in. Now, I'm going to be very honest and say, hey, there are times when you've done your best, and I will be the first person to say I've got students going, hey, that letter of recommendation, because I know every professor right now is so busy. So we do not so if somebody's missing 1 letter of recommendation, that's not going to put you out of the running. Okay, we're going to say, hey, we'll reach out to you and say, you still have, you've got everything in, but you still have 1 letter of recommendation missing, because sometimes it's just overlooked. And you can just reach out to that professor and have them, and we'll still accept that. So we have a, I want to say it's a hard deadline because we do have to start looking at applications. At that point, we can't just keep going. But if we see a really good candidate and it's through no fault of your own, we understand that sometimes the letters of recommendation come trickling in, and that's no fault of your own. You're relying on somebody else to do that. So we're a little more forgiving in that aspect. We want everybody who's qualified to have a shot at coming to Bloomsburg. So we'll reach out to you and work with you to try to get that last letter.
And Dr. Scarpino, is it safe to say then that you would not be getting a decision, an admission decision, until after February 1st then?
Well, because we're a member of CIDCAS, any school, which most schools are members of CAPCID, I'm sorry. So the Council of Academic Programs in Communication Sciences and Disorders is what we belong to, and most accredited programs do. And we have an agreement within that organization that we will not require students make a decision until April 15th, actually. So you'll get a notice of acceptance, but you do not need to make your final decision until April 15th. And that's just because we want everybody to have the opportunity to consider all of your offers and decide, which one is best for you. We're certainly hoping that you'll pick Bloomsburg. And we, one thing I want to mention too is that I guess I didn't have it in the slides, I'm darn, but let me mention it now because it's a really, really important part. And that is that our students get graduate assistantships, and not all programs can offer that. So we are very fortunate at Bloomsburg that our School of Graduate Studies is very supportive, and they offer us monies for graduate assistantships. And so oftentimes, to make your offer a little sweeter, I'm going to reach out to you and say, hey, we'd really like you to come here and we'd like to offer you a graduate assistantship. What that means, if I offer you a 5-hour assistantship, that means you would work for 5 hours for a professor in the department, and you would get paid a stipend for that, which is, an hourly wage. But in addition, you would get 3 of your credits paid for, or like a whole course paid. Now, most of our students this semester who applied, in fact, every student who applied this semester now coming up, I can say, got an assistantship. So this semester I have 13 students who have assistantships, and they have 10-hour assistantships. So that means they get 6 of their credits paid for, and they work for 10 hours. So when you're going to a graduate program and you're looking at, okay, I'm taking 12 credits a semester and half of them are paid, that really, it looks nice on your final bill, right? And so I highly, suggest that as you're looking at other programs, ask them if they offer graduate assistantships. They're very few and far between, I will tell you. We're fortunate, again, like that we have them. And if you do find them at other programs, you're probably not going to find that there are so many available. I mean, 13 is a good chunk. And also, you're probably not going to find that they're paying you, for half of your credits. So a lot of them are offered like at PhD level as well, so if it's a program that offers PhD, usually the master's level students are not getting assistance. So that's one of the nice things about coming to Bloomsburg is we're not expensive to begin with. And then on top of that, to get that kind of forgiveness for the tuition is really nice.
And I'm sorry, and Dr. Scarpino, just to circle back. So for a student who, let's say they applied, sent in all the materials by December 17th, they still would not get an admission decision until sometime after that February 1st deadline? Yes,
that's correct. In speech-language pathology, audiology is operating a little differently, where they're kind of letting people know as they come in. We're waiting for February 1st to review all applications. And then, our hope is that we're going to get everything out prior to we usually get it out before spring break. So our spring break is like beginning of March. So you would hear something usually, first or second week of March.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. And we do have some questions that had been asked throughout the course of the presentation. All great questions. So the first one, Dr. Scarpino, is communication science in disorders also offered here?
As an undergraduate program?
So the person who would ask that question, if you wanted to clarify, and it might just be a vernacular thing, because I know the name of the department is Communication Science and Disorders, and then under that department umbrella is where there's, the undergraduate degree in speech pathology and speech language pathology and audiology, as well as the master's and the doctorate program and the certificate in IONM. So whoever asked that question, if you wouldn't mind clarifying, that would be helpful. How long is the summer semester? When does it begin and when does it end?
Summer semester is 12 weeks.
Mhm.
Starts usually the week after graduation. So graduation is usually Mother's Day weekend for undergrads. So that's usually around May 10th, 11th, 12th, something like that. So summer semester usually starts then around the 17th, 18th of May,
Mhm.
and then goes until about this first week of August. And then there's probably a 2-week, well, I don't know. There's usually a 2-week break. Lately, we've been having one.
Correct.
I think we kind of got off with the calendar. I think the next time there's a 2-week break is maybe next year. And then, so there's a little bit of a break, and then you start into the fall semester. So the summer semester is 12 weeks.
Correct. Yeah, it normally starts the end of May and runs through the beginning of August. I think that sounds about right. Okay. When you graduate, are you graduating with the CF-SLP or the CCC-SLP?
So anyone who graduates from an accredited program like Bloomsburg University will graduate just with their Master of Science, or it could be a Master of Arts, depending on where your program is, where the program is housed. We're housed in a science, a College of Health Professions. So we are designated as a Master of Science program.
Mhm.
So when students graduate, they go into their first job, which is their clinical fellowship year. And ASHA calls it a clinical fellowship year, but it only has to be, if you're full-time, it only has to be 9 months. But everybody has to do a CF, or clinical fellowship. That is a requirement. So you're still under the purview of a certified speech language pathologist. You're not watched on a daily basis. They have to come in and observe every so often over those 9 months. And then after the 9 months, you can apply for your certification, and that's when you get the CCC, or the Certificate of Clinical Competence in Speech Language Pathology. So that's the course that anyone would take. No one graduates right out of school with their CCC. You have to do the clinical fellowship first. You are paid for that's your first paid job. So you graduate, you get your first job, but you still have to have that position with somebody who's willing to offer some supervision of you. And then, like I said, after the 9 months, you would apply. You have to pass the praxis, pass your test,
Mhm.
and have those 9 months and over 1,000 hours of experience.
Mhm.
And then you apply you send all your application materials into ASHA and pay your fee.
Mhm.
And then you would get your certification, or your CCC.
Okay. Great, thank you. What is the acceptance rate for students coming from the CSD undergrad program at Bloomsburg already?
From the undergrad program?
Yeah, so if you're a Bloomsburg student in the speech path and audio program, what's the likelihood of your admission?
Yeah. I wish I had exact percentages for that. I don't. I guess we need to maybe work on that and figure that out. I will say this. I have heard in the past some rumors, and I don't know, they are rumors. So I always tell students, go to the professors who run the program. Don't listen to rumors. I've heard people say, oh, Bloomsburg, only takes like half of the cohort is Bloomsburg graduates, and the other half they want to take from other places. I don't know where that would come from. If all of the good candidates for the program came from Bloomsburg, we'd be thrilled, and we would have a whole cohort of Bloomsburg. If everybody who came was from surrounding schools, and we only had maybe half the people apply from Bloomsburg, and we ended up with half, that's fine too. We don't have a set number of how many people we take from our own program versus other programs. We certainly, would never say that. To me, that doesn't make sense. I think there are programs out there who say we only take so many of our own students. That makes no sense to me, because if I think that we are training very good graduate, students undergraduate, I can't imagine why I wouldn't want them in my graduate program. And I do know that we have a great undergraduate program here. So yeah, we want as many Bloomsburg graduates as want to come and are qualified, but everybody goes kind of together in the pool. We do have, however, for Bloomsburg students, we have the conditional acceptance. So if you are a Bloomsburg student and at the beginning of your fall semester senior year, you apply, if you have a 3.5 GPA or above, and you happen to be one of the top 15 applicants in terms of your GPA, you're offered conditional acceptance. And that just means that as long as you maintain academic good standing and you still want to come to Bloomsburg, you're offered acceptance into the program that early. So it would be already, you would know at the beginning of the fall semester. So we have 15 spots available. I will tell you, in the past, even though we offer 15, we don't, sometimes students, they're our top students, and for whatever reason, they want, sometimes go to another school. So we usually end up with, I would say, of all cohorts, so this is a long answer to a question that you asked about what percentage. I don't know what the acceptance rate is, but I will say that in terms of our cohorts, we usually end up with probably 2/3 of our cohort being from Bloomsburg. So we take 28 students every semester. And I would say probably a good, 18 to 20 end up being Bloomsburg undergrads.
What is the, I guess, how many applications do you generally receive versus how many students are typically admitted?
So that kind of varies. We get upwards, sometimes 200 applicants, to 230, I think we had maybe last year. We take 28, but our acceptance rate usually, we'll accept, more than, we accept more than that, because we assume that, students are applying to more than one school, right? So you have a student who's applying to 7 schools, they're only going to choose one. So even they might get accepted by 7 different schools, but only one school is going to get that student, right? So we always accept many more than what we think we're going to need to get. So I can't really say for sure. It depends on any given year what everybody's application looks like. We rank, we look at our applicants by your GPA. We do look at your letters of recommendation, and we rank those, or we give them a rating, I should say. And we also look at your resume. We look at your letter. So we do read your letters. And so if you're a person who, maybe your GPA is not that great, but you've got a really compelling reason for why we should accept you, or you have a really compelling resume that you've, done a lot of volunteer work, you've been, one of the things I look at is if students are working during school, sometimes it's hard to keep up a fantastic, 3.9 GPA when you're working nights to kind of support yourself. And to me, that just shows that you've got some good, time management skills that are really required for graduate study. And, I think you're a hard worker. If you can still maintain a GPA of 3.5, 3.4, and maintain a job or 2. We've got students who work 2 jobs. That says something about you as a person too. So we're not just only basing it on, hey, we only take people with a 3.9, 3.8 GPA. That we do not do that. And in fact, when I think of some of our best students ever, they were not our 3.8 and 3.9 GPAs. So don't think that you don't have a shot at getting accepted because you don't have the highest GPA. We look at well-rounded students. We're looking for a number of different factors. So I'm sorry, Tom, did I answer your question?
You did, yeah.
I don't even remember.
No, that was a great answer. Yes. What's the GPA that you generally recommend? Is there an average that you have in mind?
Well, the bottom line is the graduate school requires a 3.0. Generally, because we have a larger pool from which to select, our average is usually around 3.5. But when you've got it, again, when you've got an average of 3.5, that's because you're going to have, some students in the group are 4.0, 3.9. But we have students, even in our current cohort who are at a 3.2 or 3.3. And again, I can think of some of those students who, why do they have a 3.2, 3.3? Because freshman year, they were in finance and they didn't like that. And they didn't want to do that, right? So their grades from freshman year aren't that great. But boy, once they found their kind of niche and they said, hey, I want to do speech language pathology, and this is communication disorders is my thing. They just excelled and got, A's and B's. And so we are forgiving in that way too. We don't just look at, well, what's your overall GPA? We look at, well, how well did you do in your CSD courses? Because that's telling, if you're still a junior or senior and you're struggling with CSD courses, then, that's telling us, well, hey, they're probably going to struggle at the grad level too. But if you were maybe coming from a different major, or, we understand that when you're 18 years old as a freshman coming from high school, it's a big change. So some students just don't do as well their first semester, and that's okay. We look at growth over time. We look at, what have you done your last year or so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, recent great trend.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're not looking at all 3.8, 3.9. I'd say our average again is usually around 3.5.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Aside from grades, what would make an applicant stand out? I know you'd mentioned a resume, personal statement. Is there anything else that you haven't mentioned that if you see that on, the student's application materials or additional content that you would, I guess, weigh pretty heavily?
One thing we look at is your letters of recommendation. Again, they should reflect that your professors know you. So one of the things I'm always telling undergrad students is go to office hours, even if it's just to introduce yourself to the professor. Make sure you're answering questions in class and they know you, because, it's when you ask somebody to write a letter of recommendation and they don't know you very well, the letter comes off as very, kind of form like
generic.
A form letter, generic. Yeah. And then that doesn't give us a lot of insight about you. So you want somebody who's going to really write about you. And so, like I said, that might be the instructor that you had for your biology class, not somebody in CSD, but still would know you as a student. Maybe you got to know them because you went to a lot of labs and I know students very well who sometimes struggle in my class, but they come to my office hours and that's how I really get to know them. And so I can write some really great things about them because we have some really great conversations. And some of the students who are doing perfect work in my class and getting the A's and everything and never come to office hours, I don't even know them as well, unfortunately, because they never come see me. So one of the things I would say is if you still have some time to make sure that, the people that you are getting to write your letters know you a little bit. And like I said, I think the personal statement, make it more about you as a person. So what are you going to, and what I would recommend too, for those people who don't have the really high GPA, but you have maybe a compelling reason, address it, so maybe you look at your transcript and go, ugh, I was not the same student when I was a freshman as I am now. Tell us that, we want to know that. Everybody deserves a second chance, right? So we don't want that to keep you from getting into a program. So just tell us, hey, I was kind of didn't know what I wanted to do for my undergrad. And when I finally found what I wanted to do, I'm kind of passionate about it. And so we're just looking for really your personal statement. We want to know you as a person.
Okay. In the FAFSA cover my tuition because I receive financial aid. I'm currently an undergrad student at Brooklyn College. So generally, as an out-of-state student, the FAFSA, the financial aid, is unlikely to cover the full cost. And that, to me, is where you would want to look into things like grad assistantships. And again, you also don't have to limit your search for grad assistantships to just the CSD department. I know, for instance, in admissions, we hire 3 grad assistants in our office, and they are half-time GAs, which is 20 hours, and it covers 6 out of the 9 credits. So that's a big savings if you're an out-of-state student. So those are some of the other options that you might want to look into. There are a lot of grad assistantships offered across campus as well. There are generally GAs that go unfilled every year. So I can't say that strongly enough is to look into grad assistantship opportunities, but that is a very good question. Very good question. How different is the course load for someone who didn't major in SLP in undergrad? That's a good question too.
We require that you complete some prerequisites prior to enrolling full-time in the graduate program. So you can still apply, even if, so let's say you have let's say you majored in, oh gosh, we've had people who majored in voice, vocal, whatever, or you might have majored in elementary education, right? And now you want to get your degree in speech pathology. So certainly we encourage you to apply. And if you have, good, again, compelling essay, good recommendation letters, we look at your transcripts and you have good GPA, we could very well accept you for the following year and say, okay, your acceptance is contingent upon completing 1 year of prerequisites. So all the prerequisites, all the ones that we require, you can finish in 1 year at Bloomsburg. Now, some people take them at other schools. There are even some that are offered online. The best thing to do in that case, I would say, is kind of get in touch with me. I'm happy to sit with you via a Zoom call, or even if you just send me your transcript and say, can you look at this and see what I would have to take? I could pretty much, I've done this for people before, just kind of map out what would that 1 year look like that you would have to complete. And then the next year you would be accepted full-time into the program, because we only accept full-time students into our program. So yes, it's doable, but you would have to complete the prerequisites before you actually started your full-time graduate study. And that being said, we have had students who are like -1 course. So in that case, we admit them full-time, and then they have to take that 1 course sometime during their grad program. Like, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Is a certificate offered with the AAC course?
No, we don't have any separate certificate for that.
Can you list some places where a student may do their medical rotations? For instance, maybe Geisinger.
Yeah, so we have 2 students this semester going to Geisinger Medical Center in Danville. We have 2 students going to Williamsport area, to the hospital up there. We have another student going to an outpatient facility up there. We have students going, I think we have 3 students currently going to St. Luke's in Lehigh Valley. We have students who go to Lehigh Valley Health Network at the Schuylkill campus this year. We've had them in the past at the Allentown campus as well. It just depends on where students want to go. We try to match students with where they want to go. So like I said, if you want to move home with your parents in Pittsburgh, we're trying to find your place in Pittsburgh. We have students at Penn State Hershey Rehab Center, patients at, or students at Reading, the Tower Health programs in Reading. And then we have students down in the Philadelphia area. Outside of Philadelphia near Villanova, we've got a patient, a student, trying to think. We have one going to Allied Health, or the John Hines Rehab Center up in Wilkes-Barre Scranton area. So we place students, all over. We've got some good medical facilities that are where our students can get some really good medical experiences. And then many students they want to do like long-term care. So we do have students who go to long-term care facilities as well.
And I know we had kind of talked about this, but I don't know that we ever got a ballpark estimate, but how many students do we admit each year? I know we've got 28 spots, but generally, do you have a normal estimate for how many students? Just that, again, just an approximation.
That we admit, like we offer admission, but that we might not get them all. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, basically. All right. So we know we've got room for 28, but we're going to admit more than 28. So how many would you normally offer admission to?
I'm going to say we usually say about 60 or so.
Okay.
60 or 70.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know.
And then after that, so then, the first round, we're going to offer those people, opportunities. And once April 15th hits and people make their decision, then it's okay. Now we're going off the wait list, and I'm going to be calling people, and I will, immediately be contacting people via email and say, okay, do you want to come to Bloomsburg? Please let me know. And I'm going to give you 2 days to make a decision, because if you're not going to make a decision, I'm going to go to the next person on my list, because I want to grab people up to make sure that we're getting our positions filled. And it's just one of those things where everybody's going to go somewhere, and I want to get the top. So we do have a wait list as well. So just because if you don't get offered admission right away, we will send out our letters that say you're offered admission, you're on a wait list, or unfortunately we can't accept you. And that's usually because there's something about either you don't have the GPA that's required even for the graduate school. Otherwise, most students who at least would have a GPA that would be qualified for the graduate school, and who haven't failed a course that's required undergrad and things, or haven't gotten, you can't get below a C on the undergrad courses that are required. Then we put you on a wait list.
If you aren't accepted right away, are you allowed to still take some classes even though you're not technically enrolled?
Not at Bloomsburg. No, you have to be admitted to the full-time program.
Okay. If I worked at a job where I worked with adults with autism for 2 years, and I have 2 letters from professors who are SLP professors, would it be okay for me to have a letter from my job?
Absolutely. So that's an example where I would say that person is going to be able to speak to what you'll be like as a clinician, as a person who works with people with disabilities. That would be perfect. So compare that kind of letter to someone who's, I worked at, XYZ, restaurant as a waiter. And I'm not minimizing. Waiters and waitresses do a lot of hard work. Believe me, I know that. But I'm just saying, in terms of getting your letter of recommendation, that would be fine. Yes, that would be a good. So yeah, even if you worked, as some people work as an SLPA for a year, like maybe take a year off and then apply to graduate school after a year. So yes, certainly somebody who, maybe if you've had a job kind of in the field, of course. Some students also, I will say, have done like an internship as an undergrad. And so if you get a letter from the person you did an internship from, that person's going to be a speech-language pathologist probably. And so they know what it takes to be a speech-language pathologist too. And so they could really speak to the skills that you have that would make you a good clinician. So we certainly would look at that favorably as well. Yeah.
Let's see. How much is the tuition for each semester? In fact, you know what, Raja, what I'll do is I'll send that to you. Yes, actually, I can send that to you here in just a second. Bear with me. Where can we find the specific prerequisites needed?
Well, I don't know that we have those listed. I don't know that we have those on our website per se, because again, we like to look at everybody's transcript, and you might think you don't have a course because it doesn't have exactly the title that we're looking for. But then when I look at your transcript and go, well, I would count that as, your chemistry class, or as your hard science class. So I'm not sure. I would suggest you just, why don't you, if you want to know what the prerequisites are, email me. I can get those out to you if that would be okay.
Yes, and you know what? I dropped my email into the chat. So if anybody has any questions, even if it's for Dr. Scarpino, you can send them to me and I can get them to Dr. Scarpino to follow up.
Okay, great. Thank you.
If you have any advice for how to go about undergrad internships, good question.
So how to go about getting one?
Yeah, or even how would you recommend, I guess, not only how to get one, but where would you recommend that they look for an internship?
Usually, people will just look locally, where they would be living for the summer. So if they're moving, going back home for the summer, I would look, obviously schools are out, so you can't do that. And we'll, at Bloomsburg, if you're a Bloomsburg student and you want to do an internship, we only do internships in the summer. So most people are going to look at like a private clinic, or they'll look at, maybe usually, I would say usually it's a private clinic, or maybe some type of a preschool. A lot of times the hospitals are not, since COVID, it's kind of hard. They don't take, a lot of undergrad students. They just don't have a lot of people. But you might find opportunities too, like a long-term care facility, or, people call them nursing homes, but, those places too would take perhaps an internship.
Okay. If a student had 4 letters of rec, would they all be looked at, or would it only be 3?
No, we would consider 4. I
Okay.
mean, we don't encourage you to send 6. But if you had 4, we'd certainly read them all.
Okay. And I see there is a question here, and Frandia, I'm going to try to see if this works. If you've got, I see your hand is raised, so if you have a question that you'd like to ask, can you let me know if you're able to?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Frandia.
Okay, awesome. My question's kind of maybe scaffold on some of the questions you already answered.
Okay.
So you said as long as we have some speech courses, we could apply. But like right now, I am currently a part of an online program. So I've taken 5 courses. Could I still apply this semester? Because that was my plan. Then I met with my advisor and she told me I wouldn't be finishing until the ending of December of next year. So it sounds like you're giving me hope that I can still apply, this go around, because I already completed my essay for Bloomsburg and I was just finishing up my recommendation letters before I got the sad news, but it sounds like you're giving me good news. And
Yeah.
could that be a thing that I come with 5 of those courses and apply and you guys review them and see what could work?
I would highly recommend that you do that, because again, there might be a course that we could say, hey, you know what, during your first semester of grad school, we could get you in that. I have a student who, they didn't have their undergraduate, ASHA requires that you have a physics or chemistry class. And she came to us and didn't have that. So she actually, I'm not going to say no to a student who needs 1 class, okay? So she came to our program and did an online through Bloomsburg University. Bloomsburg happened to offer an online chemistry class over the winter session. So she did her first semester, fall semester grad school, took the online chemistry class between the fall and spring semesters. And now she's done with that, and she's, still doing the grad program. So I would highly encourage you to apply and reach out to me. Feel free to send me, your transcript currently and the courses that you've been taking, because different universities have different requirements too for their prerequisites. So, we might not require all the ones that maybe you've been told by other universities that you need.
Okay. And then I have like 2 more. Is that okay?
Fire away.
We talked about our clinical fellowship year. However, my question is, do you guys help with assisting us to find those placements? Only because I'm currently looking into what that looks like, even though I'm not in graduate school, and it seems overwhelming. And so I was just asking, is there support there?
It's overwhelming, but not for you, for me, because yes, I find them all. So basically what I'm doing right now is my students have told me where they want to be. And they've given me three areas where they would be willing to go. And then I'm finding sites for them. And the great thing is that we are actually hiring this semester. Our college is hiring a full-time person who's going to be in charge of finding all of the externship sites for everybody in the college. So they're going to find externship sites for our PA program, at one of the other universities, for the nursing students, for speech language pathology students. So we're going to have a full-time person dedicated to doing that. Okay, so I can't say what that's going to look like right now in terms of what we're going to ask you to do as students, maybe, but recently, and what we traditionally like to do is say, give us where you'd like to be, and we're gonna find, or help do our best to find you a spot. We actually discourage students from trying to reach out and find their own sites, because one of the things is that we have to have an affiliation agreement with the site. So Bloomsburg University or Commonwealth University has to have an agreement with the site where you're going. It's one of those legal things, right? Between their lawyers and our lawyers. And so, you could be reaching out all day to different places, but if we don't have an agreement with them, it's futile kind of. And so I know who we have agreements with. So you say, I want to be in the Lehigh Valley area. I'm going to know exactly which hospitals we have agreements with. And that's going to be the case with the new person we're hiring too. So to answer your question, yes, we do a lot of the legwork ourselves to help, the students get placed. But that's for your externship. Okay, that's for while you're still in the program full time. Now, the next step after you graduate is finding a job. And as I said, that's usually not hard because everybody's going to come looking for you. But part of what we do, so next semester, while the students are out on externship, I'm going to have some guest, speakers coming in. I'm also going to just be talking to students about where do you go. There are tons of places where you can go looking for jobs. So usually our students, I will say, I would say the majority of our students have jobs before they graduate. They know where they're going to be working, and they start. So I always say, take a week off. You've worked hard, but some of them actually start week after graduation. So
okay.
You're not going to need
I
help
have
with finding your job.
Thank you. I have more, but I think they're more individual based. But my last one is while I was researching Bloomsburg and completing the application, I was looking for your nearest airport, and there were 3 that came up. And I live in Miami, and I was just like, I don't think anyone can come visit me ever because I don't know. I'm like, the nearest one was like an hour away. So maybe you guys can tell me the truth because I'm just using Google.
Yes, Google has not lied to you. There are multiple airports within an hour's distance. The closest would be a town called Wilkes-Barre, which is close to Scranton. Okay, Scranton is famously known as the home of the TV show The Office. Have you ever seen the show The Office?
Yes.
Okay, close to there. That's about 45 minutes away from Bloomsburg. There is Harrisburg, and that's probably more like an hour. And I said there's a third, and I've forgotten the third.
Allentown. Allentown Airport's only about an hour and 20 minutes from Bloomsburg. Yeah.
So, Frandy, there are airports close, within close proximity. Bloomsburg is not the metropolis that Miami is. I'm going to be very honest with you, in case you couldn't tell from the pictures in the presentation. But there would be a number of ways to be able to get to campus from an airport, or for family and friends to visit you. The fall up here, beautiful. They've got to come up for the winter, see snow, and there's a lot of good reasons to come up here.
And are you guys, this is just generally in my last one, are you guys offering visits? Like, because I think I was looking at that because I wanted to visit beforehand.
That's a good question. So we did do an in-person open house in October, but Frandy, I would be happy to help facilitate a visit if you'd be interested. It would include, a tour of campus, and, a chance to see some of the facilities in the CSD department. We could certainly set that up. Frandy, in the chat is my email address. Please feel free to shoot me an email. We can schedule something. Yeah, we'd love to host you.
No problem. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Are there any other questions? Anything else? These are, fantastic questions. You all are clearly very well prepared. Anything else? And if something pops in your mind a minute from now, an hour from now, a week from now, a month from now, call us, email us, stop in to see us. We're happy to help in any way that we can. We work for you. Our scholarships offered. Generally, scholarships are not offered at the graduate level. I believe there might be 1 or 2 offered through the CST department for graduate students, but there would not be in abundance. It's a good question.
There are scholarships that might be available through places like ASHA or through CAPSID, like some of the larger organizations that are out there for, but they would be offered, to any of the grad students at any program. But, we certainly could help you to find some of those outlets that would perhaps offer a scholarship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Raja, really, the best source of additional financial help would be grad assistantships. That's going to be the most lucrative opportunity to help fund your graduate education. Yeah, but those are all great questions. Anybody else? I think I started off this event by saying that I thought we might go maybe 30 or 45 minutes. I was wrong. What are they called again? They are called graduate assistantships. Yep. If you go to bloomu.edu/grad school, and you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a big box with the big picture on the left, I think, and writing on the right that has more information about the graduate assistantship process. Yes. Oh, and sorry, it took me a while to realize that people were raising their hands. So let me bring that up here. Right. Go ahead, Linissa.
Hi, yes, so I already submitted my application to the CIPCAS.
Okay.
And then I got an email from Bloomsburg graduate admissions to pay a fee.
Yes.
But when I hit the link, it's not letting me sign in.
Yes. So Linissa, and I had messaged you on the Q&A here. So you can disregard that. That was a technical error on our part. So please disregard that message. If you had received that, you do not have to pay an additional application fee through the Office of Graduate Admission. The only application fee that you would need to submit is the one offered through CIDCAS. So I'm sorry for the confusion there, but you can disregard that.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that everything was complete. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you for your patience. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anything else? Okay, well, in that case, thank you so much. I apologize if you could hear my kids in the background. I can hear them downstairs wrestling right now. So I apologize if that was some of the background noise. But thank you everybody for joining us. We really appreciate it. We are happy to answer any additional questions. Thank you, Haley. Thank you, Raja, for all the great questions. Really appreciate that. And like I said, I hope this is the beginning of discussions about the program. If there's anything else that we can do to help you along the way, do not hesitate to contact us. We are more than happy to help. So thank you, everybody, and have a great night.
Thank you.